It was August of 2021 when I fully woke up to a lot of the programming into the world, how I used to see the world, and I no longer saw it in that same way. And it was, at the time, it felt traumatic and like I was having a nervous breakdown. And on some level, it probably was. My nervous system didn't know how to hold all that I was learning to see. And then that spawned a deeper, what would be called like a spiritual awakening. And I didn't really know how to be in the world for about 2 years.
Welcome to the Heart of Show Business. I am your host, Alexia Melocchi. I believe in great storytelling and that every successful artist has a deep desire to express something from the heart to create a ripple effect in our society. Welcome to everyone on my Heart of Show Business podcast. I can't believe it's season 8. As you saw, I've been doing a little bit of a pivot, bringing some incredible thought leaders, not just artists. And I actually have with me here an incredible woman, soul, that I also am honored to call a friend. And she is a thought leader because she has genuinely impacted my life in more ways than one. Just I got to do some of Michelle Soro's teaching, and she sharpened my Michelle. As you know, she's been an expert on camera. She was on a top entertainment show. She was one of the top hosts there, and she's also sold millions of copies of products everywhere. She is a speaker on major platforms. She created her own podcast, Fire and Soul. She does amazing retreats. She's a woman who has pivoted 100 times like I have. So I love having her here. Thank you, Michelle, for coming on board.
Gosh, Alexia, I'm so happy to be here. 8 seasons. Congratulations. I mean, most people actually give up. 8 seasons is a big deal.
Oh, thank you, my friend. You have experienced outward success. You've experienced achievement, visibility, but yet you chose a deeper path now. And so, what is the moment where you realized where more was not necessarily better?
Mm. Yeah, it is a much quieter, deeper path, although I can feel the beginnings of something that's now pulling me forward after what feels like about 5 years in the dark night of the soul. And I think maybe people listening will resonate with like 2020. It was a game changer for so many of us that awakened to a lot of different things. And then those awakenings shifted other awakenings. And then as it goes, those awakenings became more awakenings. And the deeper you go, or the more that you see. And so really it was August of 2021 when I fully woke up to a lot of the programming into the world, how I used to see the world, and I no longer saw it in that same way. And it was, at the time, it felt traumatic and like I was having a nervous breakdown. And on some level, it probably was. My nervous system didn't know how to hold all that I was learning to see. And then that spawned a deeper, what would be called like a spiritual awakening. And I didn't really know how to be in the world for about 2 years. And then it was October of 2023. And I finally felt ready to kind of come out again and share my gifts. But I went through a 2-year window there where I didn't really have a choice. It was just time to take a look at all the masks, all the filters, all the performance. And it's such a funny thing. I didn't know that that was happening. I didn't know what was driving that. I didn't know all those patterns that were looking for love and acceptance and embrace. So what felt really intense in the beginning ended up being the greatest gift, as it almost always goes. And so that probably was more of the penny drop moment, but it continues, right? The unraveling is real and it's here. And there's no other choice for me at this point other than to continue to surrender to what is right now.
Oh, what a beautiful answer. And you know what? It's true because I think we're all evolving, right? And I feel that we've all starting to learn that presence is something entirely different than just showing up in front of the camera. How has that evolution, because you've been on camera pretty much every day of your life, on Facebook, on TV, how has your presence, your sense of presence changed since this couple of years ago when you had your new awakening or next level moment?
That's a really good question. And I wish I could say that what I used to feel doesn't exist anymore, but it still does. I mean, it shows up. We're also human of like, what do I look like? The self auditing of what people will think, or all the looping. But the real difference is that I didn't even know in the past that I didn't know how to really be present, because there was always some sort of narrative of what will this get to? What will come next? Is there something that I can generate as a result or network through this? Or there was an agenda and I didn't know that. But a lot of it was just strategy and inability to just be completely present. And how do I know the difference now? My nervous system is at ease. There's
Mm.
not a thought of where will this go? Where will this take me or us? Or it's just being here. And whatever this is supposed to do, this is supposed to do. And me not being responsible, I'm beginning to teach that, which is how do I come back to total coherence? And how quickly can I come back there when there's a rupture, when I'm feeling frantic or anxious or stressed? And then how often do I reside there? I can't say I live there all the time, and nor do I think I want to. Like, I like the dynamics of life. But yeah, I think it's just the ability to be in this now moment to really begin to recognize what that means.
Yeah, no, and I see that in you. And I've discovered, just as you have, the power of quiet leadership and how much more impact that can create in the world. And so for you, because you are embodying that right now, the quiet leadership, what would that mean to you right now to be in a state of quiet leadership? I think quiet leadership brings about a sense of curiosity, which is a more surrender type, relaxed way of interacting with others versus, like you said, can I show up and tell, I'm here to help the world and this is how I am and look at me, I'm in nature? No, you don't do that for that. You do that with the purpose of bringing a sense of curiosity into others as to what's your journey like? How can I, no, how can I be like her, but how can I learn from her by witnessing her journey? So I think to me, it's more a witnessing
Mm,
state and having us all be curious about life, about ourselves, about you. That's what I think. That's what I see in you.
that's really a lovely interpretation and observation. And more importantly, I think I now know I'm not meant for everyone. I'm not meant to go as far and wide as like ego wanted me to think it needed to be. It had to be big stages, television, thousands of people. I don't care about any of that. What I care about is the work landing. Does it matter? Is it making a difference? Is someone shifting? Do I experience more reciprocity inside our dynamic? Are we in a give and receive exchange? Is there any hierarchy, or the subtle whispers of that anymore? Because I didn't even know that that was exactly how I led before, and I wouldn't have known a difference. But to your point on synergy, which is the container in which we get to open up the gene keys and somatics, that changed my life. And right on cue, I'm a line 6 in my life's work. And anyone who knows anything about that or is curious in this moment, around 50, if you're line 6, you don't mean to, but something shifts in this complete and utter surrender, and you actually turn into more of like leading from the back of the room. But I'm just trusting the journey more and trusting the timing. And it turns out going slower gets me further faster.
Yeah.
And trusting actually gets me further faster.
So, Michelle, I'm going to leave you the stage on this because I would love for you to explain to my audience what the gene keys are about and why you created the synergy container that I just love being in.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. What a question, because I don't even think Richard Rudd, the man the gene keys came alive through a profound awakening that he had decades ago that lasted 3 days. He has a hard time distilling it. But what I would say in my own words, and I have such deep respect and reverence for that man, that beautiful sage, is that the gene keys are a system based on the 5,000-year-old ancient I Ching, and your astrological birth data. So the exact time, place, and date of your emerging on this planet for this life. And so inside this system would suggest that we are born with inherent encoded DNA that comes alive upon contemplation, and it would be a frequential pathway, evolutionary arc of your shadows to your highest divine expression. But what makes it tricky, I think, for a lot of people is when they look at their Gene Keys profile right now is like, what does all this mean? Is a bunch of and then dots and then numbers after that, and then these words that wait, that doesn't resonate. And so it's really confusing. And so what I found after working with the Gene Keys for 2 years and watching it not only change my life but save my life, the interior of the quality of my consciousness and heart was, and that's an ongoing practice, by the way, but it was, oh, this needs to be married with somatics so that we can experience these words that are the gene keys, shadows, gifts, and cities. Cities is a Sanskrit term for highest divine destiny through our body. And how does this show up? How does it express? How do we know it? Because trying to explain the gene keys to someone is like trying to explain to a fish that it's swimming in water. And when I finally got that way to teach it, things clicked for those that it was meant to click for. And I know it helped me a lot. And so that was the beginning. And so now we're moving through the profile, and it's a heart opening experience, bringing us back to love and unity, Christ consciousness, the Buddhic mind, stillness and presence. And it is life affirming on the deepest, most beautiful, sacred levels. And it also, once you start to get into the gene keys, you'll find that your fractal family, which it suggested that we all agreed before we even emerged on this planet that we would find each other. And for these times, these evolutionary times that we find ourselves in that can feel so chaotic and stressful and divisive, and we're coming together and we're remembering who we really are and why we're really here. And it shows up without having to change anything in your life. You don't need to exit your job or go find your purpose. Like your purpose is simply in the being. And so that's not sexy enough for a lot of people, but for those of us who understand the riches of that, our lives are being returned to us. And then we get to go out there and keep our lights lit and share that frequency with others. And it's quite contagious and it's beautiful and it's holy. And yeah, it's really important work.
I love how you define it. It feels to me like what we do when you're in our little container, it's almost like Bible study without going into the Bible, because what we do is contemplate and we examine how certain things show up in our lives, right? The shadow is obviously, the way that, the energy gets so muddled up whenever you're under stress or whatever, there's some sort of a trauma that shows up from childhood or relationships. And I think, the shadow work I love, but I'm also loving how in your container we're really focusing on the gifts, which is how we can become, the most, real and raw, evolutionary human in this evolutionary time as possible. My question to you, Michelle, is that obviously, so a lot of my listeners are either entrepreneurs or high achievers, and then there's also the artists and they're wanting to do something in the world. And I feel that both of those categories really do fight their shadows a lot. Whatever the shadow is, they all have those things that they feel they have to bottle inside in order to keep up an appearance. What do you think would be the most common shadows that you see in people? I know everybody has different incarnations, but in people in those categories, what would they be?
What I think is, so the gene keys would suggest 64 different shadow frequencies, and that's all they are. They're frequency bands.
Yeah.
So you have a frequency of shadow, which is basically like in the world of Tony Robbins speak, life happening to me.
Yeah.
F my life, this is awful. Then
Yeah.
the gift frequency is life happening for me. And the city frequency is life happening through me or as me. And where we're no longer disconnected from the divine. But to answer your question, I think the biggest shadow is thinking that we shouldn't have shadows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thinking that there's like somehow we're not supposed to have that. You and I are recovering from a lot of personal development that meant well but didn't have the full story, right? So a lot of new age was like eliminate the limiting beliefs, or like if you can't you must, or overcome. And I think that there's more to that story, and it's like how about embrace and integrate and then transmute and alchemize. These are like a lot of weird lofty faraway words, but once you actually get present to what they have, then you see that the shadow contains the gift, that the oyster has the pearl. And so this is where we get to actually remember who we are in our total divine awesomeness, really, but it includes the shadow and all the limiting beliefs, all the doubts, all the insecurities, all of the anxious, looping, self-auditing thoughts that says you're never going to be good enough. And if you haven't done it by now, you never will, and whatever. And it's just part of the human condition. And so part of what the work that I felt really called to study last year was trauma and somatics, attachment science, and then a deeper journey into somatics. And what I learned is that those terms might be a little bit too intense for me. I feel like we're just learning how to be human literate. It's like, oh wow, it's the whole spectrum, and I'm here for all of it, including the shadows. So the biggest shadow is the shadow of thinking that we shouldn't have a shadow.
That is such an Instagrammable moment for me, which I love because you know what? A lot of the self development that you and I have had to do is based on control, on having to control everything, which is great because for those that feel lost sometimes, they need to feel that if they can control their lives by doing certain actions, certain things, it can work. And it does work up to a certain level. But then when we're so much ingrained into the having to control every aspect of our life, and like you said, overcoming it from a controlling point of view, the judgment comes in if somehow we fail. The stress comes in because it's like, I got to do this and I got to do that. And then so it creates more stress, it creates more judgment, it creates more insecurity. And I feel that is the problem with a lot of those paths that they can lead you there up to a certain point. But there has to be a moment where you dial back. And that's, I think, where you come in because you work a lot with, I know you have private clients, I feel, to help them get back more into themselves.
To honor what's true. We all know what's true and most alive, but do we have the capacity and do we have the awareness of how to begin to honor it?
Yeah.
Honor it. And the other thing that I really felt called to share was you were talking about how the control thing. One of the beautiful blessings of moving through the trauma and somatics and attachment science last year was being able to have so much compassion for control, or a lot of us can relate to like hypervigilance,
Yes.
which often gets misunderstood as like masculine energy, especially for females. All of these are just brilliant little patterns and strategies in order for the little girl or little boy in us to feel safe.
Yeah.
I'm no clinical psychologist. We really don't need to be one. But when we learn that and we can actually begin to get present to that, then we're like, oh, the control thing, my life's work, which is like the main gene key, is moving from the shadow of dominance into the gift of synergy. Hence the name of synergy. It's like literally the gift of why I'm here on this planet, which is to gather and to allow for all voices to matter at the metaphorical table. I didn't used to run my business or my life that way. And it
Yeah.
caused a lot of pain and suffering and rupture in so many ways. But now, as I have leaned more into trusting the synergy of a group and the whole to know better than one and leaving the hierarchy behind, it's actually serving me. But sometimes it's like, not as much these days, but it's like, oh, but this was my idea, right? Or like, this is what I saw.
Yeah.
It's a nervous system pattern to want to feel safe and to want to make sure that what we're doing matters and to get it perfect. And it's just a pattern to look at, you
Wow.
know? And what if we can open it? And what if it gets to be even better than what we thought? How cool would that be?
I so love what you're saying because again, like you said, we're sometimes fixated. You know, you saw my life's work goes from like chaos to innovation. Innovation is my gift. And then it goes into innocence. And I'm like, innovation is also means doing things different for me that I've been used to, you know, and having to go, oh my gosh, you know, I'm changing and I'm bringing people like you, and I'm not bringing just artists on my podcast because I feel called to share what you have to say, because it's so important in today's time. Having you here is so vital. And I invite any of you who want to obviously look up what Michelle is doing, go on her website. She hosts amazing retreats. She works one on one with clients, and then she brings up, obviously, containers like the synergy. In closing, my friend, I want to ask you, because this is a good one. Michelle, what does a beautiful life look like for you?
Hmm. Being in the moment, truly just being in the moment and being able to recognize that there was once a time when I dreamed of this moment right here, reconnecting with you, living in Santa Barbara in Hope Ranch. I mean, that was like a beyond distant dream. Like, how was I supposed to do that on my own? In the middle of the day, having the privilege and the honor to connect over Zoom and have these juicy conversations that are so life giving. At least they have been for us. And that's really all that matters, right? Because someone picks it up and is curious, great. But like to have this life, there's something that I say a lot, and I don't remember where I first heard it, but it was like, how does it get any better than this? And when we can live life with that magic and mysticism in the everyday mundane, I mean, does it get better than that? And when we can walk through life in that way, I just feel like life continues to show up and say, "You like that? Well, how about this? And how about this?" And we just live in such abundance, and that's true wealth. And so that's what I'm really here to do, is to recognize, what's true, what's alive in this moment, and how to appreciate that with such awe and wonder. Is feels like it's kind of the ticket to heaven on earth right now. And in these wild, wild times, I'm kind of anchoring into that more than anything else. And so that's a beautiful life.
I 1,000% agree with you. A beautiful life is going to be one that is filled with all kinds of things, not just the pretty things.
Mm.
Just the fact that we take a breath every day and then we get to see God's creations. And then, we can always start again the next day when we open our eyes. We have another shot, another chance. It's nothing is ever like fixed, and this is what I try to tell people. You have options. Everybody has options. And I'm going to put you on the spot because,
Okay.
got it going on, a life mantra or something that you say to yourself in moments of darkness to get you out of that funk. So, what
Mm.
would
I know which one it is. It's the Wu Wei. It's the ancient Chinese philosophy, and translated in English, it's easy is right.
I knew you were going to say that.
There is nothing else. And sometimes it's not accessible. And when it's not accessible, that's when I really do my best to remember that no, easy is right, because I will complicate it. I will intensify it. I will dramatize it. I'll catastrophize it. I will elaborate to worst case scenario, all the things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my biggest problem in this world is making things worse than they are. Easy is right. What if easy is right was actually real? And the more that I believe that and walk it and share it and live it, the easier things become.
This
Richard Rudd, the man, the Gene Keys came through. He shares that it's pretty much a foundational aspect of the Gene Keys. And
Yeah.
he references like an easy Sunday afternoon energy. Like most of us in the world, we can relate to the energy of a Sunday. It's quieter in the streets. We tend to spend time with family or reading or sipping tea. And he's like, what if it could always be that way? What if we didn't know what day it was? What if every day could be easy as right as a Sunday?
This has been such a great conversation, Michelle. Thank you for coming on my show. And for all of you people listening in, I mean, um, find your light, find your path, whether it's being an artist, being an entrepreneur, being somebody who is going to be a messenger of light, in whichever way you choose to do so. Michelle is certainly doing it. I'm doing it. I'm pivoting in my own way and trying to do what I can to spread joy and love and ease, like you said, into this really crazy planet that we're in. So, check her out. See if you get, inspired to hear her podcast, to go on her retreat, to join a little, Gene Key synergy group, or just follow her on social. So, Michelle, it's been so lovely having you.
Thank you, Alexia. Such an honor to be on and spend this time with you. Thank you.
Thank you. And for everyone who enjoyed the show, please like, subscribe, review, And this is the Heart of Show Business. Over and out. Ciao a tutti.